Good evening, everybody, and a big welcome to everyone from Nutrients by Hina Nafis. Now, before we start, I think our guests are already here, and let me take you through आज शाम को हम क्या करने वाले हैं. Ramadan is round the corner, and Hina Nafis suggests that we eat smart, eat mindfully. And there are a lot of questions as to does fasting improve your general health? Does it make you more energetic? And there are a whole lot of issues connected with fasting. So, ye Ramadan abhi is on way, approaching. And so, clinical nutritionist Hina Nafis will share with us her views on eating smart while you fast. तो इसके लिए हमारे साथ आज रहेंगे हिना नफीस के साथ मंसूर दानिश. Mansoor Bhai is a trained public speaker. He is also a communication expert and a corporate trainer. And he uses a very fancy microphone. So हमें सबको इसके बारे में काफी सुनाई देगा. और Mansoor Bhai is also, he specializes in Islamic finance and is the faculty manager of at the International Open University. तो आज हमारे साथ यहाँ पे मंसूर भाई के साथ हीना नफीस अपने गुफ्तगू करेंगे कि ईटिंग स्मार्ट व्हाइल यू फास्ट. ये हर भाषा में हम चलते रहेंगे, इससे कैजुअल डिस्कशन, तो उसमें हम हिंदी, अंग्रेजी, बांग्ला सब भाषा में वो करेंगे. तो फिर एक बार आप सबको मेरा सलाम, नमस्कार, and let me now hand you over to Mansoor and Hina Nafis. So here comes Mansoor Bhai, and that's the microphone that you're seeing. And here is Hina Nafis, and I now take her backstage.
Thank you so much. Bismillah, alhamdulillah. We begin in the name of God. We praise Him and glorify Him. And I would like to welcome all of you for this session on Ramadan. Now, in the past, whenever I have done a session on Ramadan, people are generally used to asking me questions relating to issues pertaining to the charity, issues relating to the jurisprudence of Ramadan, or the fiqh of Ramadan, as we will often call it. But this session has nothing to do with jurisprudence. This session has everything to do with what's on our iftar table today. And for that, I would like to thank the entire team of Nutrients for having me over. Thank you so much, Hina. Hina, thank you for joining us for this session.
Thank you for moderating, coming on board.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, we start with a very important reminder. Ramadan is supposed to be the month of the Quran. This is the month in which the Quran was revealed. And there's a very important reminder that Almighty God gives us in the Quran regarding Ramadan. He tells us that Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed. And in another place, he says that fasting was prescribed to you as it was prescribed to people in the past, so that we become God conscious, that we are able to discipline ourselves in the way God wants us to live our life in a moderate manner. So today we are going to discuss on the issues of fasting. How can we make sure that our fasting is healthy? How can we make sure that what we have on our suhoor table, as we call it as sahari, or what we call as the iftar table, becomes healthy for us? Now, before we get into what's there on the menu, we would like to know from Hina first. And I was quite intrigued when I saw this caption that you used: eat smart and eat mindfully. Ramadan, we don't like to be told what to eat. You know, we know very well what we need to eat. But today, when people are becoming so health conscious, I would like to know from you, Hina, what do you mean by eat smart, eat mindfully? Why did you come up with this?
We coined the term eat smart for different aspects of eating, whether it's Ramadan or normal living. So during Ramadan, what happens is most people, because they're fasting, at the end of the day, they do want to eat their favorite foods. So eating smart is about eating both the food which you like, which may probably not be a very healthy choice, and also food which are the healthy choices. It's about balancing the good and the bad. Although I don't like to label food as good or bad, but like things which are very sugary or things which are very fattening, And if you have too much of that, then it becomes difficult to keep up our energy levels for the next day's fast also. You feel more thirsty the very next day. So eat smart is about when can I eat the sugary food which I like to eat. For
Sure.
instance, during iftar, if you eat your sugar, if you like your mithais or your custard or whatever, if you eat something which is sugary, it's a good option because your sugar levels have fallen down. And if you have a small serving of a sweet treat, it's not going to harm you. But then if you eat the same very sugary dessert or something for sehri, that's going to deplete you of your energy levels. Then you might feel very weak while you're fasting. So it's about putting the foods in the right places. So it's just not about, but also being able to eat things which are not called the right foods, but enjoy them, and not get get harmful effects of the same. So it's about balancing your likes and your the healthy foods together.
ओके तो चूंकि हमने अभी सुहूर के ताल्लुक से बात किया, सहरी के ताल्लुक से, तो मैं सीधा आपसे अब हम सहरी के टेबल पे चलते हैं और हम सहरी के ताल्लुक से कुछ जानने की कोशिश करते हैं। मेरे नजदीक एक हदीस है रसूल अल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की। रसूल अल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने फरमाया कि सबसे बेहतरीन सहरी वो है जिसमें मुसलमान खजूर खाएं। तो खजूर के ताल्लुक से यानी डेट्स के ताल्लुक से हमारे प्रॉफिट ने सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने बहुत इंपॉर्टेंस दिया और काफी स्ट्रेस किया सहरी के दौरान जी। तो इसके ताल्लुक से मैं आपसे जानना चाहूंगा, साथ ही साथ एक और बात कहना चाहता हूं कि रसूल अल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने फरमाया कि जो सहरी है उसको आप जितना डिले कर सकते हैं आखिर वक्त तक डिले करें, यानी आप पहले सहरी ना करें। जैसे कुछ लोग होते हैं जो रात को डिनर के वक्त ही सहरी कर लेते हैं कि हम डिनर के वक्त अच्छे से खा लेते हैं, या कुछ लोग 2 बजे अच्छे से खा लेते हैं। तो इन दोनों चीजों को मैं जोड़कर आपसे जानना चाहता हूं कि इसमें क्या हेल्थ बेनिफिट्स हैं।
देखिए, ये दोनों रिकमेंडेशन जो रसूल सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने बोला है, ये दोनों काफी साइंटिफिक है। बिकॉज खजूर में शुगर ऑफ कोर्स होता है, अच्छा खासा होता है, अच्छी खासी कैलोरीज होती है, एंड वी नीड अ गुड अमाउंट ऑफ कैलोरीज सो दैट हम लोग फास्ट कर सके, उतने लंबे फास्ट को सस्टेन कर सके। तो फिर वीकनेस आने लगती है, कमजोरी लगने लगती है। खजूर में जो शुगर होता है वो लो जीआई शुगर कहलाता है, लो ग्लाइसेमिक इंडेक्स, बिकॉज उसमें इतना ज्यादा फाइबर होता है। शुगर बहुत तेजी से खून में बढ़ता नहीं है, इट डजंट राइज वेरी क्विकली इन योर ब्लड स्ट्रीम। सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज इट गिव्स यू अ सस्टेन्ड सप्लाई ऑफ एनर्जी, राइट। अगर आप सहरी बहुत जल्दी कर लेते हैं, मान लीजिए 12-1 बजे रात में या कर लेते हैं, और आप क्या फजर सहरी का आखिरी वक्त होता है 4 बजे या 5 बजे, तो आपने सहरी किया और आप सहरी खा के सो गए, और फिर आपका फास्ट बहुत लंबा हो जाता है। ऐसे भी समझ में फास्ट बहुत लंबे हैं, कहीं 15 घंटे का, कहीं 16 घंटे का। तो अगर आप इतना लंबा, और उससे पहले आप 4 घंटे पहले ही आपने सहरी कर लिया, तो आपका फास्ट तो 19 आवर्स का हो गया। तो ऑफ कोर्स आपको कमजोरी होगी, और रमजान का मतलब है कि आप क्या कहते हैं, इबादत करें। और स्पेशली इंडिया में हम लोग काम भी कर रहे हैं और साथ साथ में रोजा भी रख रहे हैं। हमारे तो वर्किंग आवर्स छोटे नहीं होते हैं। I mean, we have lead a normal lives when during Ramadan. We have to go for, so इसलिए अगर आप बहुत पहले खा लेंगे तो आपका फास्ट तो बहुत प्रोलॉन्ग हो जा रहा है, और आपकी एनर्जी लेवल डिप्लीट हो रही है। तो आप तो ना काम सही से कर सकेंगे, ना रोजा ही ठीक से रख सकेंगे। हो सकता है रोजा रख रहे हैं लेकिन नमाज नहीं पढ़ पा रहे हैं, बिकॉज एनर्जी नहीं है, सो जा रहे हैं। तो इसलिए इम्पोर्टेंट है कि आप अपनी सहरी जितनी आखिर वक्त में कर सकते उतना बेहतर होगा। एंड सहरी के लिए बोला जाता है कि ऐसा खाना खाइए जो लो जीआई है। अगर आप सहरी में बहुत लोग फिरनी खाते हैं या कस्टर्ड खाते हैं या मीठा चीज खाते हैं, तो बिकॉज ये सब हाई जीआई शुगर होता है, शुगर बहुत तेजी से ब्लड स्ट्रीम में बढ़ता है और थोड़ी देर में गिर भी जाता है। तो जब गिर जाता है तो आपको सुस्ती आती है, यू फील फटीग। So that's why you should combine a food which is low GI, and like for example अगर आप low GI का मतलब है कार्बोहाइड्रेट के साथ आपने प्रोटीन मिक्स कर दिया। तो अगर आपने खजूर खाया उसके साथ अगर आपने थोड़ी सी दही खा ली या दूध पी लिया, या अगर एक स्लाइस ब्रेड के साथ आपने एग खा लिया, so you're mixing a protein with a carbohydrate which will give you a sustained supply of energy to last you for those 14, 15, 16 hours. So this is the whole, the idea behind Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's recommendations that you should have khajur for sehri, and you should have it right at the end of the suhoor.
ओके, माशाल्लाह। सुहूर की टेबल ही पे रहते हैं और हम कुछ और डिस्कशंस करते हैं। अक्सर हम देखते हैं कि लोग फ्रूट्स वगैरह भी पसंद करते हैं सहरी में खाने के वक्त, और इसके ताल्लुक से मैंने कई सारे डिस्कशन देखे हैं। पिछले हफ्ते भी आपने इसके बारे में कुछ डिस्कशंस की थी, व्हाट इज द राइट टाइम टू हैव फ्रूट्स। तो सुहूर के ताल्लुक से मैं जानना चाहता हूँ कि सहरी में क्या हम फ्रूट्स खा सकते हैं, किस किस्म के फ्रूट्स खा सकते हैं, इसके साथ ही साथ रिगार्डिंग ड्रिंकिंग ऑफ वाटर, I mean, what should be the quantity of water we should drink to sustain ourselves for the rest of the day?
देखिए, फ्रूट्स के ताल्लुक से आई वुड से कि अगर आप ज्यादा फ्रूट्स खा लेंगे तो क्या कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ फ्रूट्स खा रहे हैं, कौन कौन सी खा रहे हैं, उससे आई मीन हो सकता है कि आपका शुगर बहुत जल्दी बढ़े और फिर फॉल कर जाए। तो आई वुड से ऑलवेज कंबाइन अ कार्बोहाइड्रेट विद अ प्रोटीन, and something which is like whole grains are much better than having a fruit at that point of time, because see, dates have a lot of fiber. Of course other fruits also have, but and the other fruits you consume in larger quantities, so then you might not be able to eat your protein along with it. So I think fruits, according to me, fruits बहुत अच्छा आइडिया नहीं है सहरी में खाने के लिए। और
वाटर के ताल्लुक से जी
जी
हाइड्रेशन के ताल्लुक से,
बिकॉज अक्सर लोग अक्सर हम लोगों के पास इनफ फैट स्टोर्स होते हैं जो हम लोगों को एनर्जी हमारी कॉम्पनसेट कर दे अगर हम नहीं भी खाएं। हमारे ग्लाइकोजन स्टोर्स जो हमारे फैट स्टोर्स विल हेल्प अस व्हाइल वी आर फास्टिंग और नॉट ईटिंग, सो दैट इज स्टिल मैनेजेबल, बट यू हैव टू बी हाइड्रेटेड। अगर आपको प्रॉपर हाइड्रेशन नहीं है और आपने रात में कुछ खाया नहीं और पानी भी नहीं पिया और मे बी बहुत ज्यादा चाय कॉफी पी ली, तो उससे भी डिहाइड्रेशन होता है। तो अगर डिहाइड्रेशन होगा, मसल वीकनेस आता है, फटीग आता है, क्रैम्प्स आने लगते हैं। तो हाइड्रेशन आई थिंक इज इवन मोर इम्पोर्टेंट देन ईटिंग, एंड ऑल्सो नॉट ईटिंग फूड्स विच डिहाइड्रेट यू। अगर आप बहुत ऑयली खाना, अगर मान लीजिए आप सहरी में पराठा खा रहे हैं मैदे का, या आप कुछ फ्राइड चीजें खा रहे हैं, बहुत शुगरी चीजें खा रहे हैं, तो वो भी आपको डिहाइड्रेट करती है। अगर आप बहुत ज्यादा चाय पी रहे हैं सहरी के वक्त या कॉफी पी रहे हैं, या बहुत लोग मैंने देखा है कि इफ्तार के वक्त भी लोग कोक बैठ के पीते हैं, तो ये सब डिहाइड्रेटिंग इफेक्ट होती है इन सब चीजों की। सो दीस थिंग्स शुड बी अवॉइडेड, बट स्पेशली ड्यूरिंग सहरी।
जरूर, इंशाअल्लाह हम इस पे वापस इफ्तार के ताल्लुक से हम थोड़ी देर में डिस्कस करेंगे। एक रिमाइंडर जो मैं अक्सर बार बार देने की कोशिश करूंगा इस सेशन में इंशाअल्लाह, वो ये है कि कुरान की जो आयत हमने शुरू में पढ़ी, या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू कुतिबा अलैकुमुस्सियाम कमा कुतिबा अलल्लज़ीना मिन क़ब्लिकुम लअल्लकुम तत्तक़ून, दैट ओ यू हु बिलीव, ए ईमान वालो, फास्टिंग हैज बीन प्रिस्क्राइब्ड टू यू सो दैट you become people of taqwa, just as it was prescribed to people in the past. इस पे मैं बार बार इसलिए होश लोगों के अटेंशन देना चाह रहा हूं, क्योंकि हम अक्सर रियलाइज नहीं करते हैं कि हमें ये सारी जो ऑब्जेक्टिव है रमजान की, फास्टिंग की, हमें जो मुत्तकी बनना है, हमें खुदा का खौफ होना चाहिए हमारे अंदर और हम उनके बताए हुए रास्ते पे चलें, इसके लिए डिसिप्लिन की बहुत बड़ी जरूरत होती है। और सबसे बेहतरीन फॉर्म ऑफ डिसिप्लिन वो होता है जब इंसान अपने नफ्स पर काबू करे और अपने भूख पर काबू करे। तो इसी के ताल्लुक से चूंकि हमने सुहूर के बारे में डिस्कशन किया, हम थोड़ा सा पीछे चलते हैं और हम आपसे जानने की कोशिश करते हैं कि फास्टिंग के ताल्लुक से इसके हेल्थ बेनिफिट्स क्या है। एक सवाल जो अक्सर मेरे जहन में है कि हम जब रात को डिनर करते हैं 9 बजे या 10 बजे और फिर सुबह नाश्ते कर रहे हैं 8 बजे, तो कम से कम 10-12 घंटे की तो ऐसी भी हमारी फास्टिंग हो रही है जो हम हर रोज कर रहे हैं। तो ये रमजान की जो फास्टिंग है जो हम सुबह 4 बजे से शाम 6 बजे तक कर रहे हैं, इसमें क्या फर्क है फ्रॉम द हेल्थ पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, मेडिकल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू?
See, one thing which I would like to say is that Ramadan की फास्टिंग जो है, it's not about eating less or fasting to become healthy and all of that, to lose weight, and a lot of people think कि रोजा रखेंगे तो weight loss हो जाएगा, but the purpose of fasting is to exercise self restraint, जैसे आपने बोला नफ्स पे काबू पाना। एंड अक्सर आजकल देखा जाता है कि बहुत सारे क्रॉनिक डिजीजेस जो हैं वो ओबेसिटी की वजह से हो रहे हैं लोगों को, जैसे डायबिटीज है या हाइपरटेंशन है या हाई यूरिक एसिड है या फैटी लिवर है। ये सारे जो कंडीशंस आजकल बहुत कॉमन हो गए हैं, यंग लोगों में भी देखा जाता है, इज बिकॉज पीपल आर ईटिंग टू मच। कुछ भी चीज पसंद है, घर में कुछ अच्छा नहीं बना है तो फट से स्विगी या जोमेटो में ऑर्डर हो जाता है, लोग फौरन खाना मंगा लेते हैं। तो कोई
जी
आज के दिन में रेडी नहीं है सेल्फ कंट्रोल करने के लिए।
जी
हंगर लोगों से बर्दाश्त नहीं होती है। तो ये जो रमदान का जो फास्टिंग है, वो हम लोगों को फिर से वो रिएटरेट कराता है हर साल कि ये चीज इंपॉर्टेंट है आपकी लाइफ में, कि आप सेल्फ कंट्रोल सीखें। एंड एक्चुअली वंस यू लर्न हाउ टू सेल्फ कंट्रोल एंड यू ईट माइंडफुली, बिकॉज यू आर, आप हमेशा काफी अवेयर रहते हैं कि कहीं गलती से पानी तो नहीं पी ले रहे हैं, या मुंह में पानी तो नहीं चला गया, या बहुत सारी चीजें। So when we become a little aware of what we are eating during Ramadan. So that way, somewhere, it's trying, Ramzan helps you to reiterate the whole idea about self-restraint and self-control, which you need throughout our lives when it comes to healthy eating.
जी
अगर आप हेल्दी ईटिंग करना चाहते हैं तो सबसे पहले तो आपको ओवर ईट करना बंद करना पड़ेगा, चाहे वो रमदान हो या नॉन रमदान डेज हो.
करेक्ट.
So this is how Ramadan helps you to lead a healthy life.
जी यहाँ मैंने आपसे एक और सवाल पूछा था अबाउट चेंज ऑफ ईटिंग हैबिट्स. मसलन जैसे मैंने बताया कि अब हमारी जो ईटिंग हैबिट्स है वो शाम से सुबह तक की हो रही है. अक्सर लोगों की ईटिंग हैबिट होती है सुबह से रात तक. तो इसके साथ एक जुड़ा हुआ सवाल मेरा ये है कि हमारी स्लीप हैबिट्स काफी इफेक्ट होती है. और हालांकि आप न्यूट्रिशनिस्ट हैं, बट आई एम श्योर दैट व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट लाइफस्टाइल, स्लीप हैज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल टू प्ले इन लाइफस्टाइल. तो रमजान के ताल्लुक से आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे? क्योंकि रमजान एक इबादत का महीना भी है, इसमें हमें कसरत भी करना पड़ता है. कसरत इन द सेंस ऑफ पुशिंग आवरसेल्फ टू डू एक्स्ट्रा वर्शिप. तो ऑलरेडी हमारी स्लीप डिप्राइव्ड रहती है. तो हम किस तरह से अपने आप को एनर्जाइज रखें? कम खा भी रहे हैं, कम नींद भी हो रही है, और जैसे हमने कहा उल-जुलूल खा रहे हैं, तो इसे किस तरह से कंट्रोल किया जाए स्लीप के ताल्लुक?
कम तो कोई नहीं खा रहा है रमजान में, बिकॉज रोजा हमारा ना डे नाइट हो जाता है, नाइट डे हो जाता है. अगर आप देखेंगे फ्लिप हो जाता है. हम शाम से खाना शुरू करते हैं और खाते ही रहते हैं. बहुत बार लोग ज्यादा खाते हैं. ठीक है. तो स्लीप इसलिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है बिकॉज स्लीप आपको रिचार्ज करता है, आपको रिफ्रेश करता है. तो अगर आप काफी देर खा नहीं रहे हैं और स्लीप भी सही से नहीं होगी आपकी, तो ऑब्वियसली आपके पास एनर्जी नहीं रहेगा अपना नॉर्मल डे टू डे जो एक्टिविटीज है करने के लिए. और उसके अलावा अगर हम अपने बिजनेस या अपना जो भी प्रोफेशन है उसमें जो भी काम कर रहे हैं, उसमें भी हम हमारी क्वालिटी और प्रोडक्टिविटी हमारी नीचे जा सकती है. तो इसीलिए स्लीप डेप्रिवेशन जितना कम हो उतना बेहतर है. लोगों को कोशिश करना चाहिए कि बहुत रात तक ना जगे रहें, इशा के बाद, तरावी के बाद में भी, बिकॉज डिनर थोड़ा लेट हो जाता है अक्सर रमजान में. So, but don't sleep at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Try and sleep little early so that you can wake up just before for suhoor, and then you can.
मैं आपको टोक रहा हूँ यहाँ पर. आपने कुछ बहुत जरूरी चीज कही और मैं चाहता हूँ इस पे आप फिर से तवज्जो दें. आपने कहा कि इशा और तरावीह के बाद हमें we should try to make up on our sleep instead of being up till suhoor.
Because बहुत लोग बिजी हो जाते हैं सोशल मीडिया पर, और बहुत सारी चीजें तो आजकल हैं, तो उसमें इतना वक्त जाया या बर्बाद हो जाता है कि आप एक्चुअली जगे रह जाते हैं, और फिर आप सहरी से थोड़ी देर पहले सोते हैं तो आप सहरी भी मिस कर जाते हैं, आप फजर भी मिस कर जाते हैं. So if you sleep right after Tarawih, I know most of us don't sleep very early, but at least by 12:30 we can all go to bed and then wake up for Sehri, and then we pray our Fajr and then again go to sleep. So you have to compensate for your sleep in little bundles actually. Little blocks of sleep go, we have to try and clock in at least 6 to 7 hours, and then throughout the day if you have the opportunity, you can take small power naps. So that way you're trying to conserve your energy. Another thing is maybe if you talk less, you'll be consuming your energy less. These are kind of things which you can consciously do. So sleep, one should try and not deprive themselves of sleep too much, but of course a lot of us want to reap as much benefit and earn as much more rewards as possible. So a lot of people stay up for tahajjud and all those kind of things also. So the ones who have time, maybe during the day they should take an hour's nap or something to compensate for the lost sleep. And see, it's not only about the hours of sleep, it's also for the quality of sleep. So are you sleeping, is it is it like a undisturbed sleep? Because many a times, our phones are next to us and we have सबके आजकल लोग इधर पूरी दुनिया में हैं, जिनके people are living in different time zones. तो कभी किसी का मैसेज आता है, आप उठ के मैसेजेस देखते हैं, तो मे बी फोन को सब जब सो रहे हैं तो ऑफ कर दें, ताकि बार बार वो सारे आपका स्लीप अनइंटरप्टेड हो और अनडिस्टर्ब्ड हो. So that is a way you can conserve energy, and you can probably use that energy to do more worship, to pray more.
True.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, inshallah, for that. There's a question which is coming from Shumaila Ali. She wants to know about some suggestions on how we can maintain an equal body weight during Ramadan, which means whatever our body weight was prior to Ramadan, how do we maintain that? But before I take that question, I think it's good time now to open up the iftar table. So maybe once we have the iftar table clear, then we can take up this question. So I straight away ask you, I bring to your knowledge a hadith of the Prophet. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he would say about iftar, or rather his iftar used to be that he would have fresh dates and he would immediately proceed for his prayers. Now that's a chronology that I'm explaining to you, that he has fresh dates and he proceeds for prayer. If he would not find fresh dates, he would have dried dates. If he wouldn't find dried dates, he would have a glass of water and then he would proceed for prayers. But contrary to the teachings of the Prophet, हम अपने माशरे में देखने हैं कि जब इफ्तार का वक्त शुरू होता है तो तकरीबन 15 से 20 मिनट हम इफ्तार टेबल पे ही बैठे रहते हैं और हर किस्म के आइटम्स चख लेते हैं और उसके बाद फिर हम नमाज के लिए वक्त निकालते हैं. तो I want you to reflect on this practice of the Prophet. Why is it that, is there a medical benefit in tasting some dates and then giving a break to your body through prayers? Please give us some.
Well, what we've seen is that because we have to break our fast, so obviously we need to break it with something. So dates again will replenish you with sugar and give you little energy, because date is quite calorie rich and very nutritious. Plus dates is very rich in potassium, which is also very good for your muscle health. And it makes you feel, it gives you that electrolyte imbalance which can happen during fasting, kind of corrects that. At the same time, the date itself will give you energy, and if you drink water along with it, you will feel a little more hydrated, and then you can immediately go and pray, because that will give you energy to pray. And anyways, you've been praying throughout the day, so obviously your energy levels are not so bad that you can't pray without eating. So dates is symbolic of breaking the fast, and that's why you break the fast with the dates, and you first attend to your prayers. Because if you eat too much, your body will feel very sluggish, because आपने सारा दिन कुछ खाया नहीं है, और सडनली अगर आप बहुत खा लेते हैं तो खाने के बाद आपको सुस्ती आएगी, फटीग आएगा, तो आप बैठे रह जाएंगे जहाँ पे खाएं, वहीं पे उठने में मुश्किल आएगी आपको, तो फिर आप नमाज डिले करते हैं. एंड वी नो कि मगरिब हमेशा अव्वल वक्त में पढ़ना चाहिए, you should not delay it at all. So यहाँ 20-30 मिनट डिले हो जाता है, बिकॉज आप खाना खा रहे हैं, एंड बिकॉज यू ईट, एंड मोस्टली सब घरों में ज्यादातर फ्राइड चीजें ज्यादा होती हैं, बिकॉज ज्यादातर हम लोग स्नैकी फूड बनाते हैं उस वक्त, तो फ्राई कर देते हैं, it's easier, it's tastier, and so because of which you feel sluggish. So actually, I think what Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did explains why he did what, so that at least you pray first and then you come and you eat, because Ramadan is about it's not about feasting, it's about earning rewards, because everything is multiplied 70 times, right? So आप जितना आप इबादत कर सकेंगे उतना बेहतर है. तो खाने पे बहुत ज्यादा फोकस नहीं करके अगर हम लोग इबादत पे ज्यादा फोकस करें, बिकॉज ये फिर हर साल आता है जरूर रमजान, बट कौन जानता है that you are going to be there next year or not. So we have to reap as much benefits as you can of this month. So that's why when somebody asked about weight maintenance or weight loss during Ramadan, I mean, if your focus is doing as much ibadat, then you will anyways automatically lose weight, because your focus is not food.
Beshak.
So and I'm not saying that you should not enjoy your food which you like to eat, but if you are only focusing on food during Ramadan, because anyways throughout the year we are focusing on food, aren't we? It's not
absolutely.
that only.
In fact, yeah, go ahead.
No, that's the point I was trying to make, because we are focusing on food throughout the year. we have birthdays, we have anniversaries, we have somebody's wedding. So सब कुछ तो चलता ही रहता है. ऐसा तो नहीं कि पूरे साल हम कुछ खाते नहीं हैं और रमजान आता है तभी हमारे यहाँ अच्छा खाना मिलता है. तो फोकस फूड पे क्यों?
In fact, for the knowledge of the people who are listening to this live right now, the word Ramadan, the Arabic word Ramadan, it comes from the root word Ramada, which means intense heat, scorching heat. It is symbolic to hardship. When you talk about scorching heat, intense heat, it's all about hardship. And Ramadan is a month of hardship. अगर आपको सारे नेकियों के ताल्लुक से, जैसे आपने अभी हिना फरमाया, that everything is being multiplied 70 times, then there must be some reward for it and some hardship that you have to go through, isn't it?
Gee. Of course. I mean, see, I don't want to say that. See, you're trying to control yourself. You जैसे कहते हैं नफ्स पे काबू पाना, तो हार्डशिप तो होता ही है, बिकॉज आपके सामने इतना कुछ पड़ा है और आप नहीं खा रहे हैं, तो आप तो अपने ऊपर तो एक तरह से तकलीफ तो आपको अपने आप को दे रहे हैं, पर यू आर डूइंग दिस टू reap rewards, you're trying to please Allah. So that's why you're doing it. That's the only reason why you are fasting, more than for anything else or any other reason. So
Absolutely.
I think of course the root word Ramadan comes from there, but it's all about self-control and self-discipline, and that's what we are trying to every year remind us to do it.
It's like a training. 30 days you do a training,
and
which you have to then implement.
Yeah, when you do something for 30 days, it becomes a habit.
Correct. I was about to say that.
Habit forming. Because any lifestyle modification program is about habit formation. अगर आपको आदत नहीं होगी तो आप कर नहीं पाएंगे कभी भी.
बेशक.
आप 2 दिन करेंगे, 4 दिन करेंगे, फिर नहीं कर पाएंगे.
बेशक. एक बहुत अच्छा सवाल आया है और ये इंटरमिटेंट फास्टिंग के ताल्लुक से है. मैं आपको सुन नहीं पा रहा हूँ. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
जी, ये इंटरमिटेंट फास्टिंग के ताल्लुक से. इंटरमिटेंट फास्टिंग को और आजकल ये इट्स अ बज़वर्ड. Everywhere we hear of intermittent fasting. So how is Ramadan fasting different from intermittent fasting? And since we are talking on fasting, what advice do you give to people who wish to take up intermittent fasting? Is it the same? Does it follow the same biological process in our system?
In some ways yes, in some ways no, because see, Ramadan, again, we have been talking about the reason why we fast during Ramadan. It's not about health benefits or anything like that. It's about fulfilling the commandments of Allah, right? It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. So we don't fast because of any other reason but that. But intermittent fasting is probably being done from a health perspective. And of course, Ramadan fast also, as well as intermittent fasting, when you actually not eating for a prolonged period of time, you're actually giving rest to your body. You're letting your body re-energize, you're letting your body heal, repair, rejuvenate itself. You give rest to the liver because you're not giving food, you're giving rest to your digestive system. So both these forms of fasting actually helps you do that, achieve these benefits. It helps you detoxify, it helps you cleanse your system, right? When you look at intermittent fasting, the whole principle or the foundation on which this has come up is about calorie restriction. Because when you don't eat you eat for shorter windows, right? What is intermittent fasting? Different ways of doing intermittent fasting. Some people do something called a 16/8, where 16 hours they don't eat and 8 hours they eat. So when you're eating only for 8 hours, you're eating less, right? You are supposedly eating less, but 16 hours you're not eating. So that way you are reducing, you're creating something called a calorie deficit. Calorie consumption कम हो रहा है, जो आपको weight loss में help करेगा, right?
जी, बेशक.
So even रमजान में भी हम लोग कम खाते हैं. I mean, supposedly कम खाते हैं because हम लोग काफी 15-16 घंटा फास्ट कर रहे हैं. लेकिन यहाँ पे क्या होता है, जो खाने वाले होते हैं वो 8 घंटे में भी वो कैलोरी कॉम्पेंसेट कर लेते हैं कभी-कभी. ये भी
ज्यादा ही कर लेते हैं, कुछ ज्यादा ही कर लेते हैं.
Even during Ramadan, and even people who do intermittent fasting. So it will only work if you eat the right proportion of portions of food. If you consume too much food, both these styles of eating will fail. Right? So, and some people, who are diabetics or who suffer from acidity, they do have little problems when they are fasting.
Ji.
So they have to uh, exercise right choices when it comes to food, so that these things don't aggravate the acidity or gastritis problems. Or if you have diabetes, if you're planning to fast, then there are you have to realign your style of eating so that you don't have problems. So
True.
these are, that way if you see, there are similarities, but the whole uh, purpose of doing these fasts are different.
Correct. Correct. Of course. And Ramadan fasting has, of course, the most important aspect, as we mentioned, is the spiritual aspect. Ramadan fasting has been prescribed for the spiritual reasons, which, of course, has other
Health.
benefits, which we are discussing, some of which we are discussing today. Something which I was reading a few days back on the issue of Ramadan and the fasting of the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And I just mentioned to you about his eating habits. One of the things which the scholars mentioned, and these were medical scholars, they were saying that your entire day, your stomach is being devoid of any food, and your liver is waiting to catch any nourishment which comes in. And so, the best form of nourishment that you can give them is a date, because the first thing that reaches the moment you place the date on your tongue is the sweetness. Sweetness takes a very short time to reach the liver, and then it spreads to the rest of the body. Likewise, water helps in extinguishing the flame of the stomach, the heat that is being generated by with you not eating. So, in this light, Hina, I will be quite interested to know what do you have to say about those iftar table. And I know that we all have it in our place as well, where the iftar table is full of fried food, junk food, rich food, and which is being eaten along with dates. People are having dates, but they're also having all of this. Is it really advisable to have, or should we take a break of, let's say, 2 or 3 hours before we consume this?
Well, I would say that, it varies from people to people. If you have a great digestion and you can digest everything, why not? If you have a weak digestion and you can't digest it, don't have it. But it's not. See, we shouldn't see fasting as where we're trying to deprive ourselves of things which we like. It's
Sure.
about, if you have a little bit of fried food, it's okay. It's not that all 30 days of Ramadan you have to eat fried food. Maybe few days you have, few days you don't have. Right?
Correct.
And the quantities can be lessened. You can decrease the amount of food which you're consuming and balance it with the other good things. I mean, like, have your fruits, have your dates, have enough water, have some, those pulses or those grams which we have, right? And
Correct.
focus should be on just one
Chana, we
thing.
call it, chana.
Yeah, like that, like any kind
Coconut.
of or chickpeas and things like that. So
Right.
they and and focus on one dish, maybe whatever you're having, you want to have. Say halim for that matter. If it doesn't have enough oil, it's a very nutritious meal. It's got it's got
In and of
everything.
itself. In and of itself.
Yeah, it's a balanced meal. Now you're eating halim, plus you're going to have a lot of other things, then obviously you are doing wrong to yourself. Because
True.
if you're having halim, maybe if you have one or two more things made, then you can have few little bit of that. But you're not going to gorge on that and also have bowls and bowls of halim.
Right.
So that's where the problem is. I also want to make a point, like some people who get very enthusiastic about eating healthy during Ramadan. Sometimes they eat a lot of fruits when they are breaking their fast. So even that is not right, because you have limited meals you're having. Actually speaking, we are eating 2 meals, two proper meals is what we have. And then
Correct.
if you're only eating fruits and only eating little bit of dates, then you're depriving yourself of protein and the other macronutrients and vitamins and minerals. So have a variety of food. Like, don't have the same thing every day.
Mm-hmm.
Variate your stuff. And when I talk about variation, another thing which comes to mind, like a lot of women especially, they start cooking a lot of different kind of food. They want to kind of in a way show off their culinary skills. So they
Yeah.
want to they spend a lot of time making fancy dishes and all of that. There'll be 5, 4 nice dishes on the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Mm-hmm.
you are wasting very precious time. You should rather devote that time to pray rather than making so much food. So if you cook too much, you will eat too much. So you might as well make less food, and if you really want to earn rewards by making food, maybe make extra food and give charity. Do sadaqah.
Absolutely.
Why do you want to eat so much? Because it's common practice, like in a lot of Muslim homes, the what do you call it, the dastarkhan which is spread, it's from one
Correct.
end to the other. Plus, there's
Correct.
so many third parties which happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's good to have it. I'm not saying we must meet, and of course in COVID times it's not happening as much. But I mean, it's not time to show off your culinary skills and how big a spread you can offer to people.
True.
So I think if you cook less, you eat less, and you pray more, and that's what Ramadan is all about.
Sure. One of the things that the Prophet, peace be upon him, would do was he would eat moderately. In fact, we have instances where the Prophet, in fact, look at this quotation which I just shared with you, that if you have fresh dates, have it. If you don't have it, have dried dates. If you have nothing, have water, which means the kind of lifestyle that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had was a very, he lived in hardship. So he had a very austere lifestyle. And he had a moderate lifestyle. Food was never the main event in his day. So for many of us, the food, the iftar table becomes the main event during the day. That was not the case with the Prophet. In fact, Ramadan, the main event used to be the worship. How do you plan your night worship? How do you keep yourself energized? So when you eat healthy and you eat mindfully and you eat smart, you ensure that you take in the right kind of nutrition, which will keep you energetic and charged up for your night prayers. Now, in order to stay energized, Hina, there's another issue which comes up often amongst the men, amongst the youth, amongst the boys, and that is the issue of exercise and going to the gym. I can tell you that a couple of years back, I had an interaction with one of the trainers, and I was just trying my time out in the gym for some months. So this chap told me that, Ramadan comes, don't worry, you can come around 4:30, just an hour before breaking your fast, because that's the time that your system has been totally devoid, and if you exercise at that time, you will burn more fat. So we find many people fasting and going mostly towards the evening to exercise. How healthy is this? And what do you advise to people who wish to work out or continue working out during Ramadan?
Well, I feel that if you are a health fanatic and you really want to work out, I mean, you can simply walk if you want to. But if you do vigorous, very strenuous exercise, there is a danger that you might get dehydrated in the gym. Like if you're in a fasting state and you've been working the whole day and you haven't had enough water, and then you go to the gym in a dehydrated state and you start working out and do strenuous exercise, you might faint, you might fall, and you can have any form of accident or injury over there. And not only fall and accident, you can also have muscle depletion, because when you work out in a state of starvation, of course you will be producing more ketones, and ketones helps you drive your body into ketosis, and that may help you burn fat. But there's also a danger that in a starved state, when you are working out, you might lose a lot of muscle, because we exercise to build up muscle, not to lose muscle. And it's very important to fuel yourself before and after exercise, which you won't be able to do at that point of time. So I think if you really want to exercise, maybe the best time would be after your iftar. Now we have a practice of something called Taraweeh, the night prayers you do.
True.
So it's kind of very long prayers, and it is where we actually hear the Quran, and it's almost an hour-long prayer, and we are standing for so long, and then bending and doing the ruku and the sajda and all of that. So even that is in the form of, I wouldn't want to say that's an exercise, but it makes you physically very active. And so if you've eaten more during iftar, you get an opportunity and a window to burn the extra calories that you've eaten. Because after breaking your fast, if you want to go to exercise, you can either go and exercise or you can pray your Taraweeh.
Correct.
Right? Because that's the window you have. Otherwise, what you could also do is that after Taraweeh, when you come back home and you have dinner, you could probably go for like a stroll. Freehand exercises, or you could walk a little bit if you have the space to do that. So I think those things, maybe do a few stretches, just to loosen your muscles and things like that.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but if you do something very strenuous, maybe the next day you won't have the energy to fast well. You won't have the energy to probably pray well. So I think don't try to overdo exercise during this period.
Right.
That's my way of looking at it.
I think that's a very important point that you're mentioning. And again, it takes us back to the verse of the Quran that we started with. What is the ultimate objective? The ultimate objective is that we need to worship God in this month, worship Allah, and perfect our worship. So in order to do all of this, we need to make sure that we are not stretching ourselves too much physically. Now, you've already mentioned, and there's a question from Ilma here that she wants to know whether it's advisable to work out after iftar. I think you already addressed that. She also would like to know, she takes chia seeds with water every morning. Is it okay if she takes it at iftar time?
Of course, no problem. Yeah, she
Right.
can definitely take chia seeds during iftar.
Okay.
Instead of
Thank you so
having
much for
that, like a ruafza and laden with sugar, she can have a
Yeah.
nibu pani, little honey and some chia seeds in it. So it would be a very nutritious drink which she could have during iftar.
Correct. Thank you so much for that. Just want to know a little bit about water, consumption of water. I happened to read somewhere, and I don't remember where it was and how authentic it was, but it mentioned that it is better that you take water as sips when you break your fast, slowly over the next 15-20 minutes, rather than finishing of one glass. The moment you break your fast, have dates, have a glass of water. Is it really something which is scientific, or we can ignore it?
Well, see, anyways, we are supposed to drink water in 3 different sips, right?
Right.
So, I mean, we never drink water. We are always advised not to gulp water at one go.
Right.
So I think, just drink it. I mean, I don't think anybody will drink water for 20 minutes. So
Right.
I don't think that would be practical. So I think do have a glass of water. Take few sips and have it. But I don't think
Right.
you have to take so long to drink water, because you have to replenish your water levels in the body.
Hydrate
think
yourself.
You have to hydrate yourself.
Correct. Okay.
And another thing I would like to mention when it comes to water, that see, we are fasting for maybe 14-15 hours. So between iftar to suhoor, that's the time where we have to rehydrate ourselves. And during that whole period, we should be drinking between 2 to 3 to 4 liters, depending on the environment you are in. Right? It varies from people to people. And the best way to check if you're hydrating yourself enough is when you wake up in the morning, and you you pass your urine, you should check the color of your urine. If it's very dark, that means that you haven't drank enough water. So you would be able to even check out your baseline. You can in fact decide yourself that how much water is enough for you. So you could probably have a baseline water intake of say 7 glasses or 5 glasses or 6 glasses or whatever. And the next morning, when you see that your urine is very dark, that means you need to increase it by 2-3 more glasses. And if it's not, it's fine, because maybe you are in air-conditioned environment where you're not sweating so much. So maybe your water requirements are less.
Right.
So water requirements changes from people to people. But as a general rule of thumb, most people should drink between 2 to 3 liters of water between iftar to suhoor.
Correct.
That's
Thank you so much for that. Muhammad Faris of the Productive Muslim Group, he mentions about the importance of conserving energy in the month of Ramadan. Unlike other months, this is a month where we should try to conserve energy, because the energy has to be used somewhere else in your worship, etc. Now, with regards to health, and this is something, and I have a few more things to cover with you, so we'll try to rush through these points.
I wanted to tell you about conserving energy. See, Ramadan for the whole entire month. Now, the last 10 days of the आखिरी अशरा जिसको कहते हैं, उसमें आप तरावी भी रोजा भी रख रहे हैं, आप तरावी भी पढ़ रहे हैं, उसके बाद लैलतुल क़याम की नमाज होती है. So
तहज्जुद होती है जी.
Shab Qadr comes in, So I mean, don't do too much during the first part of the Ramadan, so that you can't reap the benefits in the later month. बहुत बार क्या होता है, लोगों का burn out हो जाता है. End के वक्त आप very main rewards earn करने का time होता है, उस time तक लोग थक चुके होते हैं या shopping में busy हो जाते हैं. बिल्कुल. तो उस वक्त के लिए तैयारी करनी चाहिए, and that we should conserve our energy for those last 10 days actually.
Absolutely. I think ये आपने बहुत ही खूबसूरत चीज बताई. रमजान के ताल्लुक से एक बहुत अहम चीज जो हम अक्सर लोगों को कहते हैं कि ये 30 days पीरियड है फास्टिंग का, but the business end of Ramadan is the last 10 nights. जो आखिरी अशरा है, और वो भी आखिरी अशरे में जो ताक रातें हैं, यानी जो ऑड नाइट्स हैं, वो सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस रखते हैं। मगर अगर हम शुरू से, जो हमारी एनर्जी लेवल्स हाई रहती है, हमारा ईमान लेवल भी हाई रहता है, क्योंकि हम ऑल एक्साइटेड टू फास्ट, हम अक्सर देखते हैं कि 15-16 रमजान के बाद हमारी हालत बुरी हो जाती है। उसके बाद फिर अब हर दिन लंबा लगने लगता है। तो ये आपने बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट चीज कही कंजर्विंग एनर्जी के ताल्लुक से, कि हम अगर अपने एनर्जी को सही तरीके से इस्तेमाल करें पहले 20 दिन, तो आखिरी 10 दिन में जहां हमें सही माने में पूरे जोरों के साथ इबादत करनी है, उसमें हमें कोई अड़चन नहीं आएगा। जज़ाकल्लाह खैरन। हम आपसे अब हेल्थ इश्यूज में जाना चाहेंगे, क्योंकि दिस इज समथिंग व्हिच डज कम अक्रॉस, एंड आई कैन ऑलरेडी सी अ क्वेश्चन ऑन माय स्क्रीन हियर अबाउट पीपल हु आर डायबिटिक. What is your recommendation to them? Because diabetic people need to consume food at regular intervals. It's advised by doctors. They have to take medications. They have to take insulin. What can they eat? Can they fast? What do you recommend?
Any diabetic before Ramadan start, the first thing they should do is go and consult their doctors, the respective doctors, and see how can the dosages or the timing of the medication can be changed to keep it in sync with Ramadan, right? So there will be a change in the timing and the dosage of medication. So, and ask the doctor if it's advisable for him or her to fast, because Islam में बाइंडिंग नहीं है कि हर इंसान फास्ट करे। जो बीमार है, जिसको कोई हेल्थ इश्यूज हैं, दे आर एग्जेम्प्ट फ्रॉम फास्टिंग। तो अगर आपका हेल्थ कंडीशन ऐसा नहीं है कि आप फास्ट कर सकें, उससे आपका हेल्थ डिटीरियरेट करेगा, तो आपको फास्ट नहीं करना चाहिए। आप उसकी जगह चैरिटी करिए, you can do other things by which you can reap the reward of Ramadan. But if your doctor says that you can fast, then you must fast. There's no problem. It's just that you have to eat the right foods during your iftar, your sehri, and you have to be more mindful than the other people are. Right? So you have to eat a very balanced meal for iftar. You should consume enough protein. Don't have very sugary foods. Have enough water. Try and include some healthy fats in your diet, so that like seeds and nuts, which does not increase your sugar, which does not let the sugar spike very quickly. So these are small little modifications which a diabetic needs to do. And also, if a diabetic wants to eat, say, a sweet or a dessert, have it just during iftar, so that you can use that while you are praying, and don't have a smaller portion of that. A lot of time diabetics ask if they can eat fruits, because diabetics are told that they can't eat fruits. So work with your dietitian or your doctor and find out what are the serving sizes of what different fruits are. So there are exchange lists whereby you can even choose which fruits you should have and which you shouldn't. You are allowed actually all fruit, but you have to have it in the right proportion. So that's something which you need to learn. And again, if while you're fasting, and especially during the first few days of fasting, you should actually you should monitor your blood glucose levels, because that does not break your fast. You will actually know whether it's suiting you or not suiting you, what your levels stay, and accordingly you can work around it. Secondly, if by chance you're fasting and your sugar levels goes below 70, or while you're fasting your sugar levels jumps to more than 300, then you should immediately break your fast. You should not continue to fast, because that will probably lead to medical emergency. Thirdly, you have to be very particular about sehri. You should really eat towards the very latter part of the sehri, and you should not eat any sugary food. Maybe eat an oatmeal porridge or eat eggs, which are lesser in sugar, and which can give you, and like with oats you're adding milk, which is a protein, or a yogurt. With eggs, you can probably have it with whole wheat bread, or even a chapati for that matter. So or you can even have a cheese sandwich if you want to, or you can even have some roti with chicken if you want to. But a small help, like not a very large, oily kind of greasy kind of food, which will help you sustain your sugar levels. And because see, for a diabetic, it's not just about sugar being high or low; it's the sugar fluctuations which happen, which causes more harm. So you have to eat the right food so that you don't have so much of, you're avoiding that spikes and troughs in your sugar levels.
Correct.
So for that, you have to work around your diet. And sometimes, seeking professional help does, help you.
Ji.
And of course, a diabetic should also make a point that he or she should not put on weight with diabetes, because the more weight you put on, the difficult it gets to control diabetes.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
first, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I think that's a very important point that you've mentioned. Many people have a misunderstanding, and I can tell you that the scholars in Islam have mentioned this several times, that if you are not medically fit, or if you start fasting, and if you experience that you will not be able to pull through, the Deen of Islam allows you to break your fast and address your medical attention, give yourself medical attention immediately. And you have an option to make up for the fast after the month of Ramadan, when you are a little more healthy, little more better, and you're in a position to make up for your fast. So please understand that there is a condition also given in Islam where you have an option. If you can't fast, and medically you are not in a position to fast anytime during the year, you have a system of giving kafara where you feed people whatever is the cost of your average meal. You take out equal amount of money for the next 30 days and feed someone who is in need. So take care of this. And as Hina mentioned rightly, you need to seek an advice from your local doctor and plan it accordingly, inshallah. Something which just came in my mind, when we were having this discussion, most of our iftar shopping, the raw materials, the vegetables and the fruits and the meats, they are normally done, and all the food planning, कि आज क्या पकाना है, it happens when we are in a state of fasting.
Right.
And so what happens is, it eventually leads to a situation where we have more on our table than we can take in.
Right.
So what's your view on this? How does it work at your place?
Well, I don't know. I think I don't decide while I fast. It always happens at night. Because you have to,
Okay.
probably because I'm a working woman, I have to leave I have to go for work in the morning. So I have to decide and then just get it all organized before I leave. See, for me, if you see as a dietitian, I consult people. I'm doing consultations about food, while I'm fasting. So that my clinic hours is just about talking about food. But actually, I don't feel even once or even for a second that I'm hungry, despite talking about all kinds of food in the world at that point of time.
Mhm.
So I think it's more in the mind than anything else. And it's all about your consciousness. And as so because I know what you're trying to point out, that when you're fasting, you're more hungry, and that is why you tend to order more or get more
Correct.
food,
Correct.
right? So that's what eat mindfully is, what is the top, is the topic of discussion. So if you're mindful about that, maybe like say you take a cue from what you had today for iftar, and you see that you had a lot of leftover and you made a lot of food, get mindful about that, and then the next day make less.
Be smart.
Yeah, be smart. It's all about being smart, really.
Right. True. Thank
Yeah.
you so
See,
much for that.
when it comes to exams also, if you study a lot, but you don't study smart, you don't know what to study, then you do wrong. You
Yes.
probably don't do well in exams.
Yes, absolutely.
It's about doing it smartly.
True.
So that's
I think this is something I'll agree with you. Growing up, I always used to tell my father and mother, I know when to study and what to study. So I couldn't sit throughout the year and study. I was more with flair. So I know where you're coming from.
Exactly, absolutely. So even when it comes to eating, we have to be smart. Bolte hain, sahi khana is an art. Eating, well, intelligently is an art. एक
You're
कला है.
making it more difficult now for people. Now people say, मेरे अंदर तो ये talent है नहीं.
तो सीखने से सब, जब इंसान इतना कुछ सीख सकता है, तो ये क्यों नहीं सीख सकता है?
बेशक. मैं आपसे एक चीज कह सकता हूं कि आपके इस सेशन के बाद कई लोग आपसे काफी नाराज होने वाले हैं, क्योंकि हमारे मोहल्ले में अगर हम निकले मगरिब के बाद, रोजे खोलने के बाद, तो हर तरफ कहीं चाय की दुकान है, कहीं कॉफी की दुकान है, कहीं मुर्गी की दुकान है, और हर तरफ कहीं ना कहीं कुछ लोग खा रहे हैं. अच्छा, एक अरबी हलीम की दुकान है. हालांकि अरब में लोग हलीम खाते नहीं है, मगर यहाँ अरबी हलीम की भी दुकानें होती हैं. तो काफी लोग डिप्राइव्ड होने वाले हैं.
What do I say? I mean, Allah hidayat de aap logon ko. I can only say that.
बेशक. हमें अपनी हेल्थ का ख्याल रखना है. हदीस है रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की, माजर चाहता हूं.
Throughout the year, people are eating.
जी.
I mean, you see, these joints are full of people throughout the year. It's just that during the day, during Ramadan, they're not eating and they're compensating for it during the later
Indeed.
half. So see, if you
Some
see,
of them are open the whole night.
yeah, of course. Even now, if you see in a lot of areas, that's what's happening. So, I mean, it's again about being mindful about what you're eating. And see, there have been a lot of public health messages about, not eating sugar and not eating oil. Even somebody who's not well educated is still
Ji.
aware of the fact today that you should not eat oily food and not eat too much sugary foods. But
Ji.
somewhere, the whole public health message has gone to the drain because the approach has been very dogmatic. It's about no, no, and no. So if you tell somebody, don't do this, don't do that, even, so especially when you're fasting and somebody comes and tells you, you're आप रोजा खोलने जा रहे हैं, सारा दिन भूखे हैं और कुछ खा रहे हो, ये healthy नहीं है, इसको मत खाओ. So, the person will get angry, will
Correct.
not like it. So again, you can definitely have your favorite food while you're breaking your fast. That's not that you can't, but you have 5 of your favorite food together. And don't have like a lot of everything together. That's when the problem comes in. Nobody tells you don't eat what you like, don't enjoy what you want to eat. That's what smart eating is. That you can actually differentiate between hunger and craving. And also, you acknowledge your craving and then give into it, not stop yourself, but again eat mindfully.
Correct.
आपको अगर रसगुल्ला पसंद है, आप खा रहे हैं, लेकिन तो उसमें एक रसगुल्ला खाया तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, 2 भी खाया शायद प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, वहां 10 रसगुल्ला आपने खा लिया तो वो प्रॉब्लम है.
जी.
So that's what people have to do. I mean, nobody's telling them that when you break your fast, don't eat what you like to eat, but
Correct.
don't overeat it.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I just have a quick question on the food habits for people who work at workplaces and they are not able to come back home to break their fast. So generally, when I used to work as well, we used to have dates and break our fast, have a glass of water, and then get back to work, and then we would have a good dinner at night, followed by suhoor. Now, is this recommended? Is this advised? That we can have a heavy meal at dinner, and then again, suhoor, you probably may not be very hungry. You probably just pop in a couple of dates.
I do think that one should eat something when they break their fast and not just simply dates. You can always, and see, India is a very secular country, and I feel proud saying that people in a workplace, when a Muslim is fasting, a lot of non-Muslims come to your help. They want to give you something to eat just out of respect. Correct. That your colleague is fasting.
Correct.
That's something which we cannot deny. It happens everywhere. So,
Correct.
I mean, so you should not kind of just eat khajur and, just a glass of water and break your fast, because you have been fasting for so long and you have been working along. You're just not your fasting, you're just sitting in your office. You have been making decisions, or you might have to go out, travel, do all kinds of things. So, you would, get very exhausted by the time you reach home. And then, the danger of overeating is even more, So you might as well eat. You can even order a small little sandwich for yourself, like a chicken sandwich, the next sandwich. Have cakes, have maybe something simple can always be ordered. You can,
I mean, something like a halim, which you said is a complete meal in itself. You could have a bowl of halim, maybe.
The only thing is, a lot of halim which you get, ready-made halims, most of them are very, very oily. So if you're buying that halim, maybe just skip the part and just throw it away. So that way you'll be at least cutting down that, because otherwise halim is very rich.
That is the thing which people demand about halim. The oil that they give separately.
That's what people think, because actually the oil masks the taste of halim. It only makes it look nice. The taste comes from the different dals and the meat, and in fact, a lot of us put dalia or oats in the halim also. Halim actually is a very healthy dish if you don't put too much oil in it.
Correct. Yes. Thank you so much for this. I have something to ask you on acidity as well. Many people who suffer from acidity, they complain that they don't want to fast because it's going to worsen their cause. While I know of many people who used to complain of acidity and they started fasting, and they said that during Ramadan, they never felt anything different. So what is your recommendation on this?
See, again, if there are some people who have weak digestive system, or they have a weak digestion. So of course, for those people, when they start fasting, I mean, in the beginning of the month, what they should do is, the first few fasts, they should eat very light, frugal meals. Don't overload your system with heavy meals, because then that will aggravate the problem.
Ji.
Sometimes some people drink a lot of tea and coffee at that point of time. Even that aggravates acidity. Because tea, coffee is a stimulant, it makes you feel a little alive. See, when you overeat, when you break your fast, you feel you feel sluggish and you feel tired. That's why, it's recommended that you have khajur and water and first pray and then eat. So, you are yourself causing that acidity to build up. And of course, during the day, if you're not moving much, because a lot of people become very sedentary during Ramadan, right? So
True.
even when you're not moving, your digestion gets very sluggish. Some people experience constipation also. So the constipation further gives you gas and acidity. So try and,
Correct.
be very mobile, move around a bit, because you should be moving. And maybe if you're
Correct.
not moving throughout the day, at least during, after you break your fast, if you
Your
break
thought.
around, you are moving a lot. And then maybe if you want to take a stroll, see that you're hydrated enough, those kind of things. And, sometimes having foods which are a little more alkaline, some fruits like bananas and all, even dates for that matter, it kind of cuts the acid in the system.
Okay.
And do
You mentioned about acidity and you mentioned about
people,
tea and coffee. I know many
people
people are fond of tea and coffee. They like to have the tea and coffee before at suhoor as well as iftar. Is that
you know,
recommended?
if you have very bad acidity, then don't have milk tea and coffee. Maybe have black tea and coffee. Or even
Black tea
so,
and coffee.
some people have tea made of buffalo milk, which is very heavy. So then you can have, if you still want to have milk tea, have a skim milk tea or a double tone milk tea use. And most people who have a predisposition towards acidity, they should actually be not consuming milk, because milk per se, causes digestive problem for some people. Many
Mm-hmm.
people are lactose intolerant also.
Okay.
Because milk protein is a little difficult to digest. The same milk in the curd form is not so difficult for digestion. And yeah, and
Ji.
another thing which comes to mind is that if you suffer from weak digestion during iftar or during sehri or in between, try and have a small bowl of yogurt every day. Like, you get good probiotics, which is good for your gut health. Or if you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to have, you can even have probiotic supplements which can strengthen your gut a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much for this. I want to come to something much more serious now. Two things really. The first of them is COVID. Now we're
Mhm.
living in the time of COVID,
Mhm.
and many people have a fear that we've been reading that strong immunity is the best fight for COVID. Now, when you're
Mhm.
going to be fasting and depriving yourself of food, etc., some way or the other, you are compromising, let's say, on your immunity system also. So, what is your advice to people who think along these lines, and what's your recommendation?
Because last year when COVID started in 2020, there was this notion that if you starve yourself and you're not eating, this will fasting will lower your immunity. But
Mhm.
there has been a lot of research which was conducted last year, and all the results of these research has been that fasting does not lower your immunity.
Mhm.
Overeating does. If you eat too much fatty food, and you put on weight, obesity is one thing which you know, which is how should I put it? Complicates COVID. It causes more. There are more COVID complications in obese people. If you get COVID and you're obese, there are more chances of complication in the person who's obese. So fasting actually helps you. If you eat it, if you do it correctly, and if you eat smartly and mindfully, during fasting you can actually lose weight. You actually are lowering your risk factors by fasting rather than increasing your risk factors for complications of COVID. We've
Correct.
seen,
Thank you
we've
so
got
much.
heard and seen that diabetics and people with hypertension have more complications of COVID. So we
Mhm.
all know that all these chronic diseases or conditions
Mhm.
can be improved by lifestyle modification.
Correct.
So I think
Okay.
fasting might improve it rather than lowering your immunity.
Thank you so much for shedding light on that. I just want to ask you the second important thing which I wanted to discuss. And because Bengal is voting now, it's
Mhm.
election time, and I'm sure you must be wondering what's coming your way now. So,
Yeah.
with election around the corner,
I hope
people
you're not
have to vote.
asking. I hope you're not asking me whom I'm voting for.
No, I'm not going to ask you. I probably can discuss that later with you. But at this point of time, I want to know on the day of voting, and because there will be some phases which will be covered during 3 to 4 phases will happen during the
Mhm.
month of Ramadan.
Right.
What is a good time that you recommend people to go and give their vote? Should they go early morning at 7 o'clock, or should they go towards 4:30 in the evening? Because it's going to be peak summer now. What's your advice?
I think people should go during the later part of the day. Maybe, I think it's on until 5 p.m. So maybe at
Yes.
4:30. And if some people,
Okay.
they can manage, they can go early morning also. Then the sun is not too strong because, you
Right.
might get dehydrated because, there could be long queues and things like that.
Hmm.
Maybe carry an umbrella with you and, stay under the shade of shade of an umbrella so that you don't get dehydrated or you don't get heat stroke or anything like that.
Mhm.
I feel like, it would be advisable to go towards the latter part of the day,
Mhm.
towards evening. That would be much better. Because
Mhm.
say you went in the morning at 7 and you were under the sun and you started, you were dehydrated and, then your whole day will go bad. So rather
Correct.
than evening, yeah.
Or probably use your umbrella if you need to really go and vote. Please conserve your energy. Dr. Basil Jackson, he was a psychologist, and he would say that the kind of food that you eat has an impact on your personality. So if you eat junky food, your mind becomes junky. If you eat
Exactly.
healthy food, your mind becomes healthy. So fasting and planning what you need to eat in a wise manner is actually going to make you healthy as well. You make you think healthy as well,
It's a
not just
productive.
about your physical health.
So we have to make this Ramadan a productive Ramadan, right? We don't want this Ramadan to just come by and we just starved ourselves and then feasted in the evening and that's it. So, it's about earning rewards. Let's try and strive to be healthy and fit so that we can reap as much rewards as we can. I think that should be what we should all be striving for.
Correct. I would like to just ask you one more question, which is on bloating. Many people complain, and I think we just did touch upon this. One of the reasons why people bloat up immediately after iftar and they start feeling lazy. So, would you like to just shed some more light on this? Many people, and there are a lot of memes doing the round where it shows that there is an Arab sheikh who's lying in front of his meal and he's lying flat with a bloated stomach.
Right.
But what is your advice? What is the reason behind it?
People drink a lot of water during summers. When they break their fast, they're so thirsty that they end up drinking 7, 8 glasses, glasses of water, and after that,
In
when
a
they eat,
single sitting?
yeah, they just gulp water, like water after water. Sometimes, that can lead to very immense bloating. So don't drink a lot of water at one go. You probably drink a glass of water with dates when you break your fast, and then eat something, and then space it out and drink some more water. But don't drink like 5, 6 glasses of water at one shot. So that causes
Correct.
bloating also because that dilutes your digestive enzyme and doesn't work well. And if you
Correct.
have a lot of digestive problems and a lot of bloating, maybe just when you break your fast after you had your khajur and your water, you could
Mhm.
probably have some digestive enzymes, which can help you digest your food better. But if you
True.
really start intake out of some supplements.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you so much for your insight on this. Once again, we remind ourselves that Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed. Ramadan is the month when we need to read a lot of Quran. Ramadan is a month where we have a lot of prayers to read. Ramadan is a month where we need to seek forgiveness for our sins. Ramadan, most importantly, brings in a sort of discipline into our life. For 11 months of the year, 330 days of the year, we're probably living in an indisciplined manner. There is absolutely no schedule, no routine, no waking up on time, etc. But suddenly, when Ramadan comes, you have to wake up at a certain time, you need to pray on time, you need to break your fast at a certain time. There is a sort of order which comes in. But that order is incomplete with you not eating in the right manner. And I think that is what Hina has been able to shed light on today about how important it is to eat smart and eat wisely and eat mindfully. Thank you so much, Hina, for taking your time out and sharing your knowledge with us, your wisdom with us.
Thank you for all your questions and pertinent questions, I must say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And with that, I will hand over the session to the other team. Thank you so much.